Queues approaching Moscow tell a story more powerful than words. Cars stretch for miles along the cold asphalt, engines idling and drivers growing restless as the gasoline crisis tightens its grip on Russia's capital. What was once a daily routine, stopping at a gas station, has turned into an exhausting ordeal. With queues so long they resemble wartime supply lines. People honk in frustration. Some step out of their vehicles to see what lies ahead, while others simply slump back, resigned to hours of waiting. The image itself is shocking because Russia, one of the world's largest exporters of oil and gas, now finds itself facing a shortage at home. This is not just an economic inconvenience, it is a crack in the system, one that threatens to shake the country at its core. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Future X USA channel. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and click the bell icon so you never miss our deep dives into the events shaping our world. Today's story is about Russia's gasoline crisis, a crisis that is bringing ordinary life in Moscow to a near standstill. Long queues, rising prices, and political tension are creating a storm that could reshape not only Russia's economy, but also the trust its people place in their leaders. The story begins with sanctions, restrictions, and supply chain disruptions, all of which have piled onto Russia in recent years. While the government tried to shield ordinary citizens from shortages, the weight of international isolation and mismanagement is now visible. Fuel stations are running dry, trucks delivering gasoline are delayed or redirected, and the entire system is showing cracks. What was once taken for granted, filling up your car to drive to work, has now become a battle of patience, time, and money. People film the queues on their phones, share them on social media, and the anger is spreading faster than the fuel can. From the outside, the crisis is easy to see. The streets are crowded with endless lines of cars, blocking intersections and spilling into main roads. Moscow, usually a city of speed and movement, is slowing to a crawl as thousands of vehicles wait for fuel. The skyline of the capital is no longer just glass towers and busy highways. It is now punctuated by queues of frustrated citizens, waiting in the bitter cold with no guarantee of success. Drivers exchange stories, rumors spread, and some even leave their cars parked in frustration, returning home on foot. The exterior picture of Moscow in these days is not of power and control, but of scarcity and fragility. Inside the gas stations, the atmosphere is even more tense. Attendants work under pressure, some stations rationing gasoline, giving each customer only a limited amount. Fights break out, words are exchanged in anger, and the frustration is palpable. Families sit inside cars for hours, children crying in the back seat, parents trying to calm them while keeping one eye on the slow-moving queue ahead. The interior of the crisis is one of exhaustion and fear, because when people cannot get fuel, they cannot get to work, they cannot transport goods, and the whole rhythm of daily life begins to break down. Performance, when measured in terms of the system's ability to handle stress, has collapsed. Russia, with all its vast oil reserves, should never be facing a crisis like this at home. Yet here it is. The supply chain has buckled under international sanctions, refinery problems, and logistical mismanagement. While the government tries to reassure people that the crisis is temporary, the performance of the system tells a different story. Long queues, empty pumps, and rising anger show that the machinery of energy distribution is failing. In the eyes of ordinary citizens, this is not just about fuel. It is about whether the state can still provide. Safety is another pressing issue. Queues of cars lining up along highways create dangerous conditions, with some drivers running out of gas completely and leaving their vehicles stranded in traffic. Emergency services are struggling to respond to accidents caused by congestion. There are also risks of fire, as hundreds of cars idle close together with engines running, while frustrated drivers sometimes resort to unsafe methods of storing fuel in containers. Beyond the physical dangers, there is also the risk of social unrest. Shortages often lead to black market sales, price gouging, and in some cases, violent confrontations. Russia's gasoline crisis is not only an economic challenge, it is fast becoming a threat to public safety. The irony of the situation is striking. For decades, Russia's unique selling point to the world has been its energy dominance. Oil and gas have been the backbone of its economy, the foundation of its geopolitical power, and the resource that made it indispensable to Europe and Asia. Yet today, the same Russia is unable to supply enough gasoline to its own citizens. The image is one of contradiction, a giant in energy exports, but a struggler at home. For the Russian people, this is not only frustrating, it is humiliating. It makes them question how a country so rich in natural resources can leave its people standing in endless lines for a basic necessity. The price of gasoline has become another symbol of the crisis. Costs are skyrocketing, and for many families, even when fuel is available, it is no longer affordable. What was once a routine expense has turned into a heavy burden. Inflation eats into wages, and the rising fuel price spreads into every corner of life. Food deliveries cost more, transportation services hike their rates, and the overall cost of living surges. For the working class, every extra ruble spent on fuel means less money for essentials like food, rent, and medicine. The gasoline crisis is not just about cars, it is about survival. Looking at the bigger picture, the gasoline shortage is exposing deeper weaknesses in the Russian system. When the world sees images of long queues in Moscow, the message is clear. Even the most resource-rich nations can fall into scarcity if their systems are mismanaged or strained beyond capacity. International observers see us symbol of Russia's struggle under sanctions, but for the citizens waiting in line, it is a daily nightmare. The crisis undermines faith in leadership, fuels frustration, and creates doubts about the future. In conclusion, the gasoline crisis in Russia is more than just an issue of supply and demand. It is a mirror reflecting the fragility of a system under enormous pressure. Externally, the streets show chaos and scarcity. Internally, people live with exhaustion, frustration, and fear. The performance of the supply chain has broken down, safety risks are multiplying, and Russia's once proud image as an energy powerhouse is fading in the eyes of its own citizens. Prices are rising. Anger is spreading, and the very foundation of trust between people and government is weakening. Whether this crisis is temporary or a sign of something deeper, only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the gasoline shortage has already left its mark on Russia, showing both its people and the world that even giants can stumble when the weight of pressure becomes too heavy.